of a patient with cerebral palsy?
I'd like to correct you here again. It's not a disease.
It's a disorder.
Okay. It's a disorder. It's a condition.
It's a condition.
Okay.
Right.
Because it's not infectious, because it's not contagious,
All right.
it cannot be described and should not be described as a disease. Okay. It's just like somebody who has, a limp or something, some kind of disorder. Okay. But you see, it's that fear that it's a disease or that it's contagious that brings in the stigma that makes people uncomfortable with drug. So I would just like to say that there are a whole bunch of things that we can do to help people like this.
All right, you spoke about treatment. You said something like therapy, speech therapy. Are there other kind of therapies that can be applied to help?
Can surgery help?
Oh yeah, there's a whole bunch of things. They come in at different stages, and like I said, because it varies. The first thing, even for a child that's under 6 months, is physiotherapy. And when I say that, sometimes people wonder, it's like, how do you do physio for a little child? The truth is that a pediatric physiotherapist is trained to handle such little children. And there are certain exercises that you begin to do that even the mother or the siblings at home can do with that child in form of play that helps to exercise those muscles. Like a child that favors one side, if you desist from giving the child a toy or something in that hand and insist on giving the other hand, what you're now forcing them to do is to exercise that side, okay, and improve their ability to do something. Speech therapy improves your ability not just to speak, but also to control your facial muscles and your tongue, which invariably helps with swallowing. There's occupational therapy that looks at what exactly can that child do. There's water therapy, there's a whole bunch of things. Then when you come to surgery, surgery actually comes from a little later, maybe from about 8 to 10 years old, when the certain deformities are beginning to show up. And the deformities can be as bad as stiffness in the arms and the legs that lead them to being locked in certain positions, or even the dislocation of the hip. And then the worst case is the scoliosis, which is the twisting of the spinal cord, which can actually end up pushing the spinal cord against the lungs. And then you stand the risk in a severe case of the lungs collapsing. Okay, so you find so many things. There's tendon release, where you release the muscles so that it becomes easier to manipulate the person or for the person to sit and so on. So there's a whole bunch of things.
Now, I know from what you've told us that cerebral palsy is a damage to the brain, which you can get, which a child or the fetus can be infected even in the womb.
Affected.
Probably, affected during birth or after birth to 3 to 6 years.
Yeah.
Now, there's this worry. Is it possible for an adult to suddenly develop cerebral palsy? Has there been any case of such a situation anywhere?
No, I think the terminologies then would be different. You would have people who, because of accident, who will suffer.
Accidents?
No, who will suffer all kinds of things. Who will suffer paralysis and other kinds of muscle or brain damage, but they end up in a vegetative state or so. But that's not cerebral palsy. Cerebral palsy, like I said, is a condition that has affected the brain and that has led to the person losing certain abilities. So as they grow, it actually worsens. So another thing I want to add here is that there are a lot of childhood disabilities that just progress. The child was born blind, so he continues to be blind. Has polio or has Down syndrome and all, and it just progresses like that. But with cerebral palsy, it has so many different phases, and then the child goes through so many complications that are the result of that child not able to function very well.
I had had the situation of a cousin who was born and for 4 years
Right.
never walked one day. The child suddenly stood up and started walking, though slowly, but gradually. That child is in the university right now, and there's absolutely no symptom of the palsy again. Absolutely no symptom. I don't understand. How could that happen?
Well, when you say no symptom of the palsy, what I would like to point
All
out that
motor coordination arranged.
the child didn't have palsy from the beginning.
From the beginning.
That's what I'm saying. There are childhood disabilities. If you recall, I said some children will pick up. They will outgrow whatever delays.
Okay.
You see, a childhood disability is that the child has delays in attaining milestones. Medical science over the years, even our old mothers, our parents at home, know what a child is supposed to do at certain periods, 1 month, 6 months, 1 year. It is when they fail to hit that we start getting worried that something's wrong with my child. But exactly what is it? It
All right.
needs some
Okay.
help.
Thank you very much. So we'll call for a break shortly. But before then, I just wanted to tell us, because we were talking about the therapy. Apart from therapy, can we make use of drugs?
Yes, there's a lot of medication. The medication, for instance, there are those that help to relax the muscles. You see, because the body distortions result from the excessive stiffness. If you see a child under the age of 5 that has cerebral palsy is so strong, has so much strength in whatever part of the body that is palsied, that if the child clenches their fist, you can't open it
up.
I mean, it's like if you touch some of them, it's like you're holding a piece of iron. Okay, and it's the prolonged stay in that tense state that leads to the distortion in the body, because the body begins to adopt whatever position they're holding. So there are medications that can reduce that. The seizures you talked about, it can reduce it, because the longer they stay in a seizure, the more damage is done to the brain. They will be incontinent, they'll have problems with feeding, they'll have... Look, if I tell you the problems that come from cerebral palsy, it's unbelievable. That's why they're so complex. Because the child is drooling, and if the child has to either lie on their stomach all the time, or something, or you don't change the beep regularly, what happens? Then they also have bouts of pneumonia. Okay, so it's a whole bunch of things that could come up with the child.
All right, we've been speaking with Air Vice Marshal Femi Gbadebo, the founder of Benola Cerebral Palsy Initiative. We'll take a short break, and when we return, we're going to be talking about whether cerebral palsy, is curative. Can it be cured? So we'll take that break right now. Before we went for a break, we said we're going to be talking about whether cerebral palsy can be, cured. Is it possible?
All evidence as of now
Right.
points to the fact that cerebral palsy has no cure.
Has no cure.
What is available and what is recommended is management. With management, people with cerebral palsy or children with cerebral palsy have been known to grow up to lead a near perfect normal life. It's very important that we get that clear, because for those children to lead this near perfect normal life, it rests on the parents to accept the condition of their child, so that they don't focus too much time in looking for the so-called miracle cure. You see, the time you spend looking for that cure can cost that child a lot of possible development in the future. That is because the child, the human brain or the child's brain, up till age 5 is still developing.
All right.
As a result, the brain can be trained to to adapt to new ways of doing things. So if a limb is not functioning, with proper training, the brain can teach other parts of the body, the leg, the whatever, to do what the hand was supposed to do. And so that's why, you see, we are, we're talking with, we're advising strongly about what's called early intervention. Early intervention is moving to management at the earliest opportunity, even if it's at 6 months. But for that to happen, the parents must accept that, first of all, my child has cerebral palsy, and two, cerebral palsy has no cure. I say that because there are lots of people out there, medical and non-medical people, who are making money off parents because of this false belief that there is a possible cure. There is somebody in Jos, there's somebody in Yola, there's somebody in Enugu. And you see, a parent of a child like that is so desperate to normalize their child that they will try any possible option. And some of them are so expensive. And then you'll try it for a while until you either run out of money or you begin to have doubts. And then somebody else will come with another option. But when you do the right tests, you get a neurologist to do like a CT scan or a brain scan, then they will see that break in the brain that cannot be closed. It's an electric circuit that is not short, it's cut. And that tells the the neurologist tells you clearly, this is cerebral palsy. The extent, again, cannot be known immediately. It's as the child grows. So that's what I'm saying. With early acceptance and early intervention, management comes in. And then what you'll see clearly is a child that didn't have proper management and another one that has proper management. By the time they're like 10, there'll be a wide difference in what they can do.
So how do we prevent cerebral palsy? How do we prevent it? Is it possible for parents to prevent cerebral palsy? Can you find out why the child is in the womb? Is there something that can be done
to prevent it
before it happens?
We can't prevent. See, we're not God, so we can't prevent cerebral palsy. And I like to state here that if it can be prevented, then you wouldn't have it in the Western world, in Europe and in America, where state-of-the-art medical science is available, easily available to everybody. Yes, there are certain aspects of management that we can put in place. That's what I'm talking about. A highly improved, antenatal and mother-child care, facilities in place. You see, when we educate our people on what not to do, then it will help. When we educate them on the symptoms so that early enough certain interventions can be put in place, then we'll reduce options. When we have incubators and other facilities, trained personnel available at our very rural levels, then it will be reduced, because a large number of them are born premature because there are complications in the womb. The womb itself will reject the child. Okay, so you lead to a premature birth. Now, you have a premature birth and you don't have trained personnel or an incubator. One or two things will happen. The child will either die, or if it's a strong child, it will not die, but it starts off day one with complications. So those are the things that can be done to reduce the prevalence rates.